Excited to see everyone hopping on and joining us today. So, all right, well, let's get started. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I am Marguerite Crespillo, if you do not know who I am. And we do this Tuesday Tuneups every Tuesday at 9 a.m. And it is brand neutral, meaning that we don't care what company you're with. You're welcome to join us, and be sure to follow us on social media. You can follow me on YouTube. That's where we post many of the recordings. So you'll want to be subscribed to my YouTube channel. And we are working on taking this product and my buyer presentation. How many of you guys were on last week's Tuesday Tune-Up when we talked about my outstanding buyer presentation? A few of you? Okay. So those two are products that I've been using my entire career. They still work. The content is still great. And we're going to dive in. So let me see about getting my screen shared here. What, Shell? Say something or okay, can you guys let me, oh no, you can't see my screen. Hang on just a minute. There we go. Now you should be able to see it. All right, you guys can see this. So what I'm going to show you is my exact team presentation. Okay. You guys can modify this or edit however you want, but I'm going to show you the one that we actually use on my team currently and the things that we do with it. So hang on one sec. Let's see. So what we do with this. So it's important to make sure that you guys are being prepared for sellers. Many times new and newer agents aren't comfortable with sellers, mostly because they feel stupid in talking to them, or they don't know what to say or how to say it. So today what we're going to do is we're going to blaze through this. So I talk fast. It will probably go fast, but it is being recorded. And again, the recording will be on our YouTube channel. So you'll want to subscribe over there. So step number one, let's talk about that. A couple of things. If you guys could mute yourselves here on Zoom. And then I really encourage you to turn your cell phones to pause, to whatever it is that will keep you do not disturb, so that you can actually pay attention. So I'm going to mute some of you guys that are not already muted. So don't be offended. I'm just muting you so everybody can hear. All right, so let's dig in. So again, number one, please turn off your cell phone, quiet them or something so you can pay attention. And keep in mind that the top 1% that I know take uninterrupted time to focus on improving their skills, right? So I encourage you and challenge you to shut off your phone for just 1 hour and pay attention as we go through this seller presentation today. All right, so if you're ready to dive in, as an industry, we rate right up there with used car salesmen, right? This is where a big challenge that we have as an industry is that people don't really have respect for us, right? And not that there's anything wrong with used car salesmen, so to speak, right? But we have a reputation for being slick and salesy and talking people into buying something that they don't necessarily want to buy. Let me move this little screen over here real quick. Hold on. All right. And the truth is we can't force anyone to buying or selling something they don't want, right? And as far as real estate agents go, they think that we really don't do much. We put a sign in the yard, collect a big fat commission check, and it's kind of that churn and burn attitude. And don't you guys wish it was that easy, right? But truly our job is to build a relationship, educate them about their options, guide them through the process, should they decide to work with us. And while it sounds simple, it does take knowledge and skill to make that complicated process sound so simple. And my objective is to really help you guys build lifetime relationships, right? Not just the churn and burn 'em attitude that gets us that used car salesman reputation. So today we're going to give you some tools and scripts to make you sound like a pro, even if you're new. And if you are a pro, be prepared to rewrite the way you have always done things. I'll tell you, it's taken me going on 30 years to create, test, tweak, and test again to make sure that what we do works, right? And we're constantly tweaking it to add new information as well. So keep that in mind as things change in our industry. Now, this is written for me, of course, here in California. And keep in mind that 99% of the content in this presentation is universal and can be used just about anywhere. There might be certain things, language that you might have to change for your own presentations. Like I know some states are attorney states. In California, we are an escrow and title state. So just keep those things in mind, right? All right, so let's step back for a moment and talk about what the typical real estate agent uses as far as a seller's presentation. Well, they typically use a generic one given to them by their brokerage that talks about all about the brokerage and how wonderful they are and how many homes they've sold and blah, 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 blah. That's if, and that's a big if they use one at all. Frankly, when sellers were polled by the National Association of Realtors, less than 25% said that they would use the agent they'd previously helped them buy or sell. And it would probably increase dramatically if agents stayed in contact with them, right? So that's something to really think about. Most agents don't stay in contact with people. Now, let's talk a bit about the client's perspective and what is really important to them. Has anyone ever even asked? Like, let me give you for a few examples. Let's talk about a first-time seller. Now, a first-time seller thinks that they've bought a home before and they think that they have the experience and that they know the ropes, right? And frankly, many real estate agents think the same thing. They think, well, they already know the process, but my question is this. Have things changed much in our industry in the last year? I mean, come on, how about the last 6 months, the last 3 months? Honestly, the last 90 days, we've seen a shift in our local market that can impact a seller's bottom line pretty dramatically, right? How about a move-up seller, a seller who has a home to sell, wants to buy another one? You know, I always tell my clients, they say that buying or selling a home can rate right up there with death and divorce on the stress meter, right? And buying and selling at the same time doubles the stress. There are so many details to think about and coordinate, and this is truly where great agents shine. But a bad one, whew, gives me shivers even thinking about it. So let me talk for a moment about a very recent client that brings me to tears just thinking about it. Let me tell you about Bob. Bob was a bit of a crotchety guy. He called in one day as he'd sold the house a couple doors down from him, and he wanted to talk about selling his home. You see, Bob had been a salesman for 40 plus years, right? And according to him, had bought a few homes in his lifetime, so he's pretty set in his ways. When he initially called, I was not available, and so he was sent to one of my buyer's agents. He got frustrated that he didn't immediately get me. But when I was done with my appointments, I called him back and explained to him how I work, which I'll go over with you guys in a little bit further into this class. Calming him down. We met, I went into detail on all the stuff I'm going to go over with you. And Bob mentioned before signing the listing agreement that in all his years, he had never had an agent sit down with him and go over the process before he signed. You see, the truth is Bob was a bit emotional about selling his home. He had 7 daughters and the last one had gone off to college and he just didn't know what to do with himself. His goal was to sell the home, buy an RV, and travel the country visiting his kids and grandkids. Now, my point is that while many times our focus is on getting listings and showing them how great we are, we sometimes forget the emotional aspect of what our sellers are going through in their lives. And when our focus is not on telling them how great we are, but on educating and guiding them through the process, you end up not only with smoother transactions, but you get loyal, raving fans that continue to use you and send you referrals for a lifetime.
All right.
Let me see. Can you guys, we need to mute you guys. Somebody needs to mute themselves. See if we can, here we go. All right. So again, the thing is that what's really important is that we focus on what we can do to help them, right? And what typically happens is that clients end up not feeling appreciated. You as the agent don't feel appreciated. Both of you getting frustrated. And these are just a few of the huge reasons why I created this outstanding presentation. All right. So those who know me, have known me for a long time, know I love checklists, right? So this is basically our client discussion checklist for sellers. This might look familiar because it looks just like the one for the buyers that we did last week, right? And the thing is, there's a few things that apply more to sellers than buyers. But the bottom line is I have and always use a checklist. Why is that? How many of you guys have been in the middle of a conversation and you get distracted and you forget to say things or you forget to tell them things that you should have told them at the initial appointment? Well, that's why we use a checklist. And I want to make sure that I cover all the items that are so important on this checklist. So we're going to dive through this presentation and go through it. If you guys have questions, please save them for the end and type them in the chat, and then I'll address them when we get to the end of the presentation, okay? All right, so one of the first things that I use is what's called an ultimate scenario. Again, you guys may have seen this in previous classes and presentations. This is actually a 3-page document, and there's a reason why it's specifically 3 pages. Page 1 is really all about them. You'll notice I ask them things like, of course, their name, email address, phone numbers. Is it okay to receive a text, right? Do they have children? Do they have pets, right? How would they like to receive correspondence from our team? What are some of their favorite restaurants? Do they drink? Do they not drink? How did they hear about us? And many people think, I can't believe that people would actually answer all these questions. And you will be amazed. People answer them, and they answer them truthfully. So it's really important that you get them to fill this out if at all possible. I usually send it ahead of time and ask them to have it ready when I get to the appointment. If not, I bring it with me and I help them fill it out as we go. Page 2 is all about the house. What do they want to do? Where do they want to live? What's most important to you about selling your home? Why is this? Oh, you guys mute yourself.
Yeah, the growth in Utah is
hey guys,
man.
There we go. All right. Everybody muted? Hopefully everyone's muted. Okay. So I asked them all about the house that they want to buy, where they want to live, what's important to them, because, you know, there's some people that the most important thing is they don't want to have to do anything. They want to just go. Other people, they want to be a lot more involved. Some people, the bottom line is most important. Some people, the bottom line is not important. Just getting it sold and moving on, or having somebody deal with a lot of the issues. We have a situation right now where one of our sellers, her husband tragically passed away, and she's just overwhelmed and just needs somebody to step in, help support her in getting her moved, right? How soon do they plan on buying another home? Are they planning on buying another home? This is an important question to ask, because if they're considering buying another home, it's important that you guys go through the buyer steps on the buyer checklist and make sure they understand that. I can't tell you how many times I've ended up representing a buyer and they have somebody else representing them on the sale of their home. They didn't know that that agent could also represent them as the buyer. So everything that's in this presentation is a result of questions and mistakes and things that have come up in my career. So on here, you'll find out, are they being pre-approved, right? What price range payment would they feel comfortable? Where do they want to live? What's important about the house? Bedrooms, bathrooms, garage, pool, important. How many of you guys have had somebody say, I absolutely have to have a pool and buy a house without a pool? So it's important to get this information, but just know that things change for people. Now, this last page is one of my favorites. It says, take a moment to dream and tell us what your ultimate scenario is. What does your dream home look like? I realize that many times people are not buying their dream home at the moment, but what I love, 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 you guys, is when they fill this out and they end up coming back to me years later and we're actually buying the dream home that they talked about. This happened not too long ago. I helped some clients buy their first home about 5 years ago. And on their dream sheet, they said they wanted to own a home that had acreage where they could have goats and chickens and a garden and horses. Well, guess what? They're in contract right now to buy that dream home 5 years later. And it was so cool to go back and look at their ultimate scenario and see what they wrote, right? Super cool. Next thing that I always include is a copy of my resume. If you guys are new or newer and don't have much of a resume, listen, there's all kinds of ways to make that up, right? And add stuff from previous jobs that you can do. Or if you're part of a team, you can include your team's resume. So like, for example, in our presentation, we have my resume and we have Mitzi De La Cruz, my business partner's resume, right? If you're a buyer's agent or you're on a team, include their resumes and then include yours as well, right? Okay, so this next one is something that applies to our team. It's our mission, our vision, our core values. I encourage you to create something like this, just like this for your team, okay? Why is my presentation got off a little bit? Okay, well, this, I'm not sure what happened on that slide, but there you go, right? We roll with it. So the next thing talks about who to call. So agents, this is an important part for you to listen up. Oh, I need to mute some of you guys again. Let's see who's not muted. Here we go. All right. So this is an important part. So I really want you guys to listen up to this. I want you to think for a moment what it's like when you walk into any type of professional business. What is usually the first thing you see on the door next to the open sign? You see their hours of operation, right? When are they open? When are they closed? What days are they closed? And I realize there are some businesses that are open 24/7, like donut shops and nowadays even grocery stores. But it is impossible to have any kind of a life or some semblance of balance when you're on call 24/7. And now with phones, email, text, social media, it's almost impossible to shut off. And it's causing really more and more divorces, orphan children, and people are not happy with us, being available all the time, right? Your family is sitting around going, okay, get off the phone, mom, get off the phone, mom. And when the majority of your business is built with people that know you, like you, and trust you, it becomes easier to set boundaries. The true reason our clients don't have boundaries, you guys, is because we never establish them. So here's a quick script you can use to start using with your very next client. My hours are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I work evenings and Saturdays by appointment, and I take Sundays off to be with my family. Okay, everyone, say it with me now. My hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I work evenings and Saturdays by appointment. I take Sundays off to be with my family. Now, if you really said it with me, I'm guessing you might have felt a little nauseous saying that out loud and instantly thought of that one client where you missed a call from them and they went with another agent, causing you to add up the missed commissions in your head. But the truth is, if you had had this conversation up front and had established trust and rapport with the client, it's likely that that would not have happened. I will tell you that truthfully, the only people that have never, ever, clients never complain about my schedule. The only people who are disrespectful or have complained about my schedule are other agents. I even have this script on my voicemail on my cell phone. You can call and listen, right? Okay, so the next part is how we work. An important part is to talk about agency. I'd like to explain agency relationships to you. I'm talking to a client. Now, if you're outside of California, you guys, I will recommend you review this part to see if it coincides with your state policies. But here in California, there are 3 different kinds of agency relationships in the state of California. There is seller agency, which is what I'm here to do for you, Mr. Seller. I'm here to represent your best interests and help you accomplish goal. Then there's buyer's agency. So when people come to view your home, you'll have their own agent typically representing them. If you decide to buy a home after selling your home, I'll be representing you in the purchase of your new home. So when you're out driving around or looking on the internet at homes, those homes are being represented by another agent. So just bring that address or information to me. Happy to research it for you and arrange a showing. Now, dual agency is when either I or anyone within our brokerage brings a buyer to your home. In that situation, we're representing both parties, but it's always our job to be fair and honest to all parties involved. Okay, so for some reason, it looks like my graphics did not transfer, you guys. I'm not sure quite what happened, but let's talk about your reticular activator. Your reticular activator is the thing that heightens the awareness of what's going on around you. So you're thinking about buying a red car, and all of a sudden you notice a red car everywhere, right? Pregnant women notice other pregnant women. Now that you're thinking about buying a home, all of a sudden you're seeing real estate signs everywhere. The reason I tell you this is for a number of reasons why. Number one, because when you see those signs in the yard or people are giving you advice, they all want to tell you what to do and how to do it. Aunt Sally, who sold real estate 20 years ago, is telling you what needs to be done. This is what I do full-time for a living. I'm a full-time professional real estate agent. So bring those questions and those concerns to me, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. They don't necessarily know your personal situation or the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, but I do, so it's important, right? Bring those questions to me. You guys, that's an important conversation to have, because I can't tell you how many times they leave you and they go down the street and they're at dinner and their mom says, oh, you got to talk to your Aunt Sally. She sold real estate 30 years ago. She'll tell you exactly what to do. And next thing you know, you've lost a client, right? So it's really important that you have this conversation with people. The second part of it is, as you're talking to people about real estate, if you come across somebody who may need my services, I would love it if you would refer them my way. You see, my business is built on referrals so that I can spend more time taking care of you instead of out soliciting the general public. I don't know what happened to my graphics here, you guys. Sorry about that, but this is where we actually talk about the referral reward program that we offer for our clients and every referral that they send. So here's a mistake many agents make. They say that when you close, I will give you a $250 gift certificate or whatever, right? And the truth is many times people refer you somebody, but those people might not be ready to buy or sell. Maybe they got credit issues, or they're waiting, or they're, have something holding them back. And so your client did their job by referring somebody. So you need to refer them right away. Little simple gift cards, people get excited about that stuff. Now, when it actually closes, if you want to send them something else, great. But I am here to tell you, most people are not referring you because you're giving them, large gift certificates or gift cards. And the bottom line is, if that client doesn't buy for a year and you never give them anything, that wasn't very cool either, right? So something to think about with regards to that. Okay, so this is our little simple forms that talk again about who can we refer them to. I don't know what happened to my graphics. I'm super sad right now. For some reason, they are not showing up. I apologize, you guys. I don't know what happened to them. But this next step talks about pricing your home to sell. What's really important is understanding that there are 4 things that sell a home: price, condition, location, and marketing, right? And with that, pricing your home to sell is really important. We all know the issues if they overprice their home, right? What can happen when people overprice their home. And we all know the issues when they underprice their home. So we want to make sure that we explain to them, in overpricing your home, what can happen. When your house sits on the market, in this market, for 30 to 45 days, what do people think? They think either A, your home is overpriced, B, there must be something wrong with it, right? Or the seller's not being realistic. And what happens is, by the time you bring your home down to the price where it should be, chasing the market, the odds are it now needs to be even lower. There's no such thing as underpricing your home. The market will actually dictate what the price will be. If a home is underpriced, what happens? They get multiple offers, which then consequently drives the price up, right? So it's super, super important that you make sure that you're helping your client understand the value of pricing their home correctly. And this is an in-depth conversation you definitely want to have with your people who are thinking of selling their home. All right. Again, I don't know what happened. Somehow all my graphics have disappeared from my PowerPoint. So anyway, this is not what it looks like. But the next thing we talk about again is the 4 things that sell a home: pricing, location, condition, and marketing. We've talked about pricing a little bit. Now let's talk about location. Please understand that location can impact and affect the value of your home. For example, if your home backs up to railroad tracks, it might be a completely different price than if your home backs up to a golf course or a lake, correct? So these are all things that are really important when you're talking about the location of the home. Something that has a view of, the train tracks might not be so great. Something that has a view of the valley, again, that could dramatically increase the value of their home. So when you're talking to them about location, hopefully you know that before going into your appointment ahead of time, and you're going to be more prepared to show them comparables that might make sense to what kind of location they have. Now with Google Maps, you guys have it so easy now. With Google Maps and things like that, you can see what is going on around that particular home, right? Next, let's talk about condition. Let's talk about the condition of your home. The condition of your home can also impact and affect the value. Homes that are in really good condition and updated sell for more than homes that have not been updated. Here's the truth, you guys. Many buyers don't have vision. They can't see past things. And if they do have vision, they overestimate. They'll go in and they'll say, oh, those kitchen cabinets need to be painted. That's going to be 30 grand, right? Oh, the flooring has to be done, 10 grand. Like, they overestimate what the actual costs are to do many of the repairs. and they don't have the vision. Or many times they don't have the resources, the money, or the time to actually go through and remodel or do the work required to bring that home up to snuff. And so when you're pricing the home, you definitely have to take into consideration the condition of the home and what needs to be done, right? So that's definitely a conversation you want to have. And one of the documents that we give is our curb to curb checklist that helps give them an idea of what things need to be done. The next step is marketing. So the marketing piece is something that we're very good at. Marketing now, we have a 32-point marketing plan. In addition, that your home is going to be marketed on thousands of websites all over the world these days, right? Zillow, realtor.com, all these different things. It will be definitely marketed. And we have a whole list of all the things that we do for marketing your home. All right, so I'm a little thrown off since all of my graphics are missing. So you guys, that's okay. We'll record this again and get it fixed. But anyway, the next thing is, where do buyers come from? An important conversation to have, because they think that it's going to be up to you to bring the buyers, right? They think, oh my goodness, we need to bring the buyers and if you don't bring the buyer, they think you're not doing your job. What people need to understand is how important that buyers come from a lot of different resources. They come from other agents because of the MLS. They come from advertising. They come from signs. Some happen to know the seller, but nationally, only 25% of all homes are actually sold by the listing agent. Typically, the buyer, there's another agent representing a buyer. Okay, so this is a 30-point marketing plan. Again, this is something that you guys can go through and modify to whatever it is that you do. But a lot of the things that we do, of course, is helping them get the most amount of money, making sure every buyer is pre-qualified in the area. And you guys can read through this at length, making sure, of course, that we get professional photographs done, that we're getting a sign put in the yard, lock boxes submitted to the multiple listing service, obviously submitted to Zillow, Trulia. You guys can update this to whatever it is you do for your current marketing. Okay, preparing your home for sale. This is a comprehensive checklist. Something happened to my presentation before it came up here, so I'm a little jacked up. This is a comprehensive checklist of all the things that we suggest that sellers do in getting ready for their home to sell, right? So things such as getting things cleaned and decluttered, showcasing the home's best features, right? Making sure that the floors are mopped and waxed and cleaned, clearing countertops, replacing old caulking, removing stains, making sure the house smells good. We all wish that we had a smell detector, right, on marketing for walking into a house where they had tons of cats and dogs or didn't smell good. Another opposite of that is be careful about putting in lots of candles and a lot of those air freshener plugs, because it can be overwhelming to walk in many times and have the whole house smell so strongly like a perfume or a candle or something like that. So there's both of those, right? Opening up windows and curtains for fresh air and natural light, making sure you're installing bright light bulbs and turning on all the lights. These are important, okay? This is a second part of that, maximizing curb appeal. Things like first impressions matter, ensure a tidy and welcoming exterior. And I encourage you guys to make sure that you're going to the home before your photographer gets there as well, to make sure that everything looks good when you get there. I can't tell you how many times photographers have missed things like toilet seats and, on a counter or stuff like that. So it's important that you go and look over the home. Okay, the next one talks about showing your home. This is an important conversation to have with people, right? Making sure that they're turning on all the lights, putting away animals in cages. Another thing I talk about is safety and security. If they have any guns in the home, I ask them that question. Make sure that your guns are in a gun safe, not a gun cabinet, meaning we don't want them on display in the front living room, right? They need to be locked up and put away. Another thing we're having issues with lately, not us personally, but I've been hearing about it, are prescription drugs. So making sure that any prescription drugs are not left in the medicine cabinet, but are locked up and put away. An agent that I know had somebody come in and steal. The person was in cancer treatment and they stole like their Norcos and it's insane what people steal, but making sure that's put away, making sure jewelry and sentimental items and money and stuff like that is not left on the bedside, stuff like that, right? This is all really important, making sure that they understand not to talk to buyers or buyers agents. So we don't want them making promises or telling them something. This happened recently to a client. I warned him about this, and he told the client what he was willing to take. He told the buyer what he was willing to take in an offer. I go, you totally screwed me up in negotiating, right? Making sure that they understand that no one should show their home without an agent. Like, all of this is important. I want to make sure I'm going over all of the security. On our team, we do professional photography. So we give them a list of things that they would want to do to make sure that their home is ready for photography. We also go over there the day before or the day of to make sure that a lot of these things are taken care of. So we want to make sure that they look at things inside and outside of the home, including moving cars out of the driveway, making sure pools are clean, if so, setting things out, that kind of stuff. All right, this is a document called Awesome Features of Your Home. We actually ask the seller, to fill this out and give us a list. Again, all my graphics are jacked up, but it's okay. It's the content. We ask them to give us a list of the things that they love about the home, right? Why is that important? Because I've had situations where I've gotten all the marketing done and they're like, you didn't even say anything about the fireplace or the rose bushes in the backyard. Well, those are things that were important to them. So we want to make sure we highlight the things that they love about their home and that they love about the area. So we ask sellers to make sure to fill this out and submit it to us before we actually put the marketing of their home up on MLS. As you can see, there are a couple pages for this. Excuse me. And so I also have been asking lately, I've added to this, what things do they love about the area? Like, I love it when they come back and they say, oh my gosh, the coffee shop on the corner is the best ever. I love Bob and Sally who own it. Or they love that they can walk their dogs to the dog park around the corner. These are the things that you want them to highlight that you can now use in your marketing. Okay, the next one talks about the home selling process timeline. This is important. I will tell them, here we are today at our initial client appointment, right? The next step will be marketing your home. How long that takes, we don't know. Hopefully we can get it sold quickly and it will be moved at the highest, the best possible price. The next part is contract accepted. Once they have a contract accepted, we need them to know that there's a timeline. This is really important. They need to understand the timelines, that whatever those are in the contract, what the contingency timelines are, what the actual contract timeline is. And I can't tell you too how many times I've had an agent not explain to them that they have to actually be out when it records. I've had several sellers say, well, I'll move out as soon as I get my money. Well, that's not how it works, right? They need to either be out ahead of time, or if that doesn't work, if they need their money to move, we negotiate a rent back. So it's really important that we have those conversations up front, right? The next step is there will be an inspection period. It's typically 17 days, depends on the laws in your state, the contracts, and what was negotiated in the contract. But during that time, the buyer gets to do their inspections and they get to review all the disclosures. They also get to come back to us and ask us for repairs. But I'm selling my house as is. I understand that, but the buyer still has the right to do inspections and they still have the right to ask. We as the seller have the right to say yes, no, or maybe. Yes, I'll do it all. No, I'm not doing anything. Or I'll meet you in the middle. Maybe we'll offer credit. You do some repairs, we do repairs, right? It becomes a little mini renegotiating partway through the contract. Then guess what? The last 10 days get really quiet and you think we've actually forgotten about you, right? There's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. But keep in mind, we're getting everything prepared for closing. And then it's going to get busy and crazy again as we say, okay, docs are entitled, it's time to get you to sign. You're going to have, from that point, the buyers will be able to do a final walkthrough, and a few days later it funds and records. Now, again, I know in some states, they actually do table funding where people get the keys the day that they sign. Here in California, we sign, and a few days later, people get keys and things get transferred at that point. So again, make sure that you're applying this into what applies in your state. Once all of that done, guess what? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you'll be out of the home. Congratulations. We get to celebrate and help you get moved on to your next step, right? To the next part of your life. All right, negotiating offers. So there's going to be lots of different types of offers that we may potentially get. We might get cash buyers, which are great, but they're less than 10% of the market out there right now. Depending on the price point of their home, we might get FHA buyers, we might get VA buyers, right? And or conventional. Really, truthfully, none of these matter a whole lot to the seller. It's all cash at the end of the day in your account. The difference between VA and FHA offers could be repairs that might be required as part of the transaction. So we'll go over all of these offers once we receive them and discuss all the different terms that apply to the different types of offers that we get. Some of the elements that might make up the offer to purchase on your home, how much the earnest money deposit is, right? How long the escrow is, could be 7 days, 30 days, 45 days, we don't know. There could be, will be put down and will be held in escrow. It does not get held by you, the seller, or me. It gets held by escrow and is a credit against the buyer's down payment and closing costs. There may be contingencies such as inspection contingencies, loan contingencies, appraisal contingencies, right? Contingent of their home. These are all things that we'll review in the offer and discuss when we get offers. Other things, inclusions and exclusions. Are you going to be willing to leave the refrigerator, the washer, dryer? Does that apply, right? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Things that are not typically included are window coverings or mirrors, things like that, okay? So if there's something that you do not want included, like your grandma's antique chandelier that's hanging in the dining room, we're going to want to remove that prior to going on the market so that there's no questions or concerns, or we will make sure that we note it, that it's not included. Closing day or possession date, the closing date is determined by both parties completing their half of the agreement, right? Once all the terms have been satisfied, a final walkthrough has been performed, title officer, lender balance the final figures and release the closing disclosure for the buyer to review. The buyer will submit their final funds to close. Title officer will contact us to set a date to sign the final closing documents. And a few days later, we will close and everybody will transfer the keys. All right, this next document is 101 types of turbulence. This is a list of all the things that go wrong in a real estate process. This is not designed to scare you, but it is designed for you to keep an eye on many of the common mistakes and common problems that happen in a real estate transaction. I encourage you to read through it and make sure that you understand it. All right, once we are in contract, keep in mind the buyer is going to have the right to do inspections, which we've talked about before. They have the opportunity to do pest, home, well, septic if it applies. Sewer scopes are becoming common, solar inspections. The buyer has a right to inspect anything and everything they want. And as I mentioned earlier, they have the right to ask us to take care of repairs. When we get that list, again, reminding you, we have the right to say yes, no, or maybe, right? All right. The next thing is, are you overwhelmed with paperwork yet? There's going to be tons and tons of paperwork in a real estate transaction. We're not here to scare you, but we're here to make sure that you stay on top of any documents that need to be signed. Keep in mind, we keep copies of everything in your file for up to 4 years. So if you need anything out of your file during that time, we're your client, we're your realtor for life. So we're here to help make sure we get that done. Building clients for life. I am a firm believer of clients for life, meaning that I'm so committed to providing you with world-class service that my future business depends on it. While most agents spend their time, energy, and money soliciting the general public, I prefer to spend my time concentrating on you and your special needs. My goal is to create advocates for life and that feel compelled to refer me and their family and friends. And the last thing is what I call an easy exit guarantee. This easy exit guarantee says you don't want to be locked into an agreement with someone who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's why we created the easy exit guarantee. If you change your mind or change your plans, or you truly feel like we're not doing our job, just simply send this cancellation form over and we will cancel your agreement. Now, you cannot cancel just because you want to sell with somebody to, a neighbor or anything like that. We've worked really hard to bring you the best possible scenario. But if you truly feel we're not doing our job, we're happy to cancel the agreement for you. Okay, so after that, I will typically go through a net sheet, a seller net sheet, to break down the costs of selling their home. I remind them that when you bought your home, you did not have to pay commissions. Do you remember that part? Well, guess what? Now that you're the seller, those commissions are paid by you, and they're shared between me and the agent who represents the buyer. We'll do another class coming up on net sheets, how to prepare them and what to put on them. But basically, I go through a detailed net sheet, which is how I actually have the conversation about commissions and how they break down. But can you guys see how different this is than going in and talking about how great I am? We're really educating our sellers about the process and what that looks like and how important it is that they understand what's going on. The next step from here would be for me to pull out all my listing contracts, say, okay, great. Do you have any other questions? Let's get the contracts signed and we can get ready to get on the market, right? So, all right, you guys have questions, comments, thoughts? Again, I apologize for all the graphics not being there. They were there. Something happened to my PowerPoint this morning, but what kind of questions can I answer for you guys today?
I have a question.
Yes, Tim.
So when you're presenting this, are you doing this on like your tablet or computer, or do you have a paper copy that you're going through with them, or how are you?
So I have seen it both ways myself. I'm still a little old fashioned, so I still do paper. I definitely do paper, but easily, I know that some of our agents are now using it on a tablet and sliding through on a tablet. That is my goal. I just haven't done it that way. But if for those of you who are a little younger, a little techier, a little more got that figured out, yeah, I would do it on your tablet. Because it's 40 some odd pages of paper. Yeah. So one of the Marguerite asked about inspections. So it's different, right? And it kind of depends on the market. We're close to the Bay Area, where in the Bay Area, it's very common for inspections, the seller to do the inspections and them all to be done up front. It's not been as common in our market, but it's starting to, right? It's starting to become more common. I will typically suggest inspections to be done if I think there is a concern. For example, if I walk up and I think that there is a bunch of dry rot or issues like that, like I have a listing coming up in Grass Valley, and I definitely need to do some inspections ahead of time because I'm preparing the seller for the possible issues that may come up. I do typically go over those costs of inspections, especially well and septic. And last week, if you guys, we talked on the buyer presentation, I did talk about upfront costs for a buyer. For a seller, the only upfront cost would be if they wanted to have inspections done. And I would break, like if they're on a country property and they need well and septic, I will typically talk about them having a well and septic test done and what those costs associated with that would be, right? So yes, I definitely do go over that. Shelley asked, what about pre-inspections when necessary? Yes, I definitely recommend them. I haven't gone so far as to encourage my sellers lately to do home inspections, but I am leaning that direction because I'm seeing so many of them. Like in Bay Area, they do all of them up front, which saves a lot of renegotiating and a lot of issues and headaches. So I understand all the reasons why they're able to do that and why they should do that. It just hasn't been that common in our market. So it's something I'm working on. How much pre-qualification do you do with the seller before going through all of this? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do I ask them a lot of questions on the phone? I ask some, like I'll ask, what's their motivation in selling, right? Lately, a lot of my sellers have been sellers who are moving out of the state. So usually they will tell me what's going on the phone. And keep in mind, you guys, the majority of my business at this point in my career is all referred. They're past clients, people I've done business with before. But if you're doing a lot of cold calling, expired, that's not my niche. I've never called an expired or for sale by owner. But I do ask quite a bit of questions on the phone. I'll ask, hey, what do you guys owe on the house? When are you thinking about selling? What is your motivation to sell? Those are typical questions that I will ask on the phone before I actually get an appointment. So I usually know a lot of that going in. Like the listing appointment I went on last night, I've been talking to them for 5 years about selling their home. So I knew all their reasons. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time with that. But if I was talking to a brand new client, like Grass Valley one I got, It's actually owned by a brother and sister, and they're relocating the dad to Iowa. So I do ask those kinds of questions. Yeah. What was, oh, Shelley, you're saying seller pushed back on that cost for the inspections. Is that what you meant? Yeah, I mean, the sellers don't typically want to pay for those inspections. And again, in our market, it's historically been paid for by the buyer. But, you know, like I just had an offer that I wrote and the agent, it was up in Browns Valley, and the agent's like, oh, seller never pays for well inspection here. I'm like, well, that's crazy because I've sold a lot of homes up there and sellers pay for well inspection, right? So it just kind of depends. And I don't believe everyone says, oh, this is what's standard for our market. There's no such thing as standard, although people want to say that, agents especially. There's no such thing as standard. There is what is typical for the area, but everything in a real estate transaction is negotiable. Every single thing, okay? So anything can be paid for. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. Back in the REO days, the Fannie Mae homes, the seller would offer 3% to the seller to the buyer for closing costs. So the buyer could add 3% for closing costs into the Fannie Mae contract. But Fannie Mae refused to pay for title and escrow fees. The agents would get all twacked out. Well, that's typical. The seller should pay that. I'm like, you understand they're agreeing to pay 3% your closing costs. So don't worry about the title and escrow fees. It can be part of your 3% closing costs, right? So people get caught up in things have to be this way. And 30 years in, 4,000 deals in, and there's no standard way. Everything can be done. Every single thing is negotiable. So there you go. All right. Any other questions? Comments? Thoughts? All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I will get that presentation fixed. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what happened, but I'll get it taken care of. Shelley, we will, once we get it put together, yes, I'll get it out to you.
Thank you, Marguerite. It was awesome.
Thank you guys for joining me today. It was great to see you all. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.